today we are going to Somalia, where the very first case of COVID-19 emerged. The government enforced strict curfews and shutdowns to try to contain the spread of the virus. Today the country has recorded 3,389 cases and is on track to implement its COVID-19 economic recovery strategy. And that's where our conversation is heading with Abdirahman Dualeh Beileh, the Finance Minister of Somalia. Minister, it's good to reconnect with you. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to know at the outset just the framework of the recovery plan and the key points that you are trying to implement.
Thank you very much for having me. This COVID-19 has created a lot of problems for Africa and for everybody else, and Somalia was not an exception. Somalia is a very poor country with very few facilities to combat this pandemic. So when it came, we did not have much to fight the pandemic. So we put a lot of emphasis on trying to put together the hospitals and the trainers and equipment. Literally everything had to come from somewhere. And Somalia being what it is, very low income and all that, it created a lot of problems for us. But we got support from the international community, and that really helped us. It also coincided the time when Somalia reached the decision point of the debt relief, and therefore some resources, grant resources, came from the international community. Therefore, we had to prepare ICUs and equipments and trained staff and all that. So really, it was a coincidence that it came with the onset of our decision point. Otherwise, it created a lot of problems by decreasing the income. You know, businesses closed, airports closed, and like everybody else. So really, it impacted a lot on our economy, and in addition to the cost of fighting, so it was really significant impact on the economy of this country.
Yeah, so I can well imagine this would have further worsened government finances. But perhaps before we go into detail about that and what you are doing about it, I wanted perhaps to get a reading of where Somalia is now in terms of the main economic indicators. What growth are you expecting in 2020, and when do you expect growth to recover?
Somalia it was recovering, and it had expected next year and the year after about 3.1% growth in the economy. I think that is now downgraded to 2.6, 2.5, 2.6. What we are working very hard on is we are closely working with the IMF in its program. We concluded the SMP program number 1 up to 4. And as I said, we reached the decision point. So we really are working very hard to continue working with the international community to be able to recover. I must say that the support that we got from the international community, particularly capacity building, to generate our own resources. And I think that is what we are putting a lot of emphasis. We have to put a lot of emphasis on mobilizing domestic resources and be able to cover the cost of running government. You know, you have to stop looking outside for your basic needs. And I think that is what we realize, and that's what we are working on. Very soon, we are looking forward to financing all the operating costs of running government, and maybe getting loans, not grants, getting loans for long-term investment. That is really where we are, and that is what we are telling our people, our community, that they should pay their contribution, and we should also come up with the programs and be transparent with the use of these funds. This is where we are. We are very pleased.
Yeah, Somalis, of course, are a very resilient people. Wherever you go in the world, you will find Somali people who are making do, sometimes with very little help. But now, Somalia itself now needs to rise from its knees. So you are able now to get support from the IMF. I wanted an update in terms of where you are in that conversation. And I also wanted an idea of the kind of impact that you see from your agreement with international creditors to write off your debt, and how you are going to use the resources you're saving from there to get Somalia going again.
I think what we are working on very hard is, first of all, we have to be credible. We have to be trusted. Somalia was outside that line. We have to be believed in what we say, and I think we have succeeded in doing that. We have signed agreements, multiple agreements for the last 3 or 4 years, and everything that we have said we will do, we did it. And so bringing that credibility was for us very, very, very important. Secondly, we wanted to also get the credibility of our people, the taxpayers. We wanted to make sure that they know the money they are giving to the coffers of the government will be spent in a wise manner, and the expenditure and the budget will be shared with them. And so we wanted also to be transparent with them. What we are looking forward to is to stop begging for everything, instead somebody else paying for everything. I think that's the realization that we have come to in this country. We must cover the cost of running government ourselves from our own resources. We have to evaluate every dollar coming from outside, and every dollar coming from outside must not be spent on expenditure, operating expenditure, but on investment, with the exception of capacity building. Capacity building, yes, but nothing else. That is still some way off, but we have that plan. Within the next few years, we have to reach that. And we have to invest the money that comes from outside, and that investment, we must make sure that it's paying off itself. Yep. And be productive, and it has to cover its cost. Yep. That is where we are heading.
Yeah, Minister, I very much respect the fact that you are working on building confidence, number one, of your citizens. And of course, the other thing you've spoken about in the past is getting the private sector to be the engine and the driver of the economic recovery program. Here's a platform for you to talk about what measures you are putting in place and where you see the opportunities for investors who may well be looking at Somalia and saying, hey, there's nothing to lose here.
Yeah. Somalia are known, as you said, as very good entrepreneurs. We are born with it. It's in our bones and in our blood. And we are trying to establish the security necessary. We are trying to put the company law, the tax structure, the incentive structure. So if you bring something, investment, you have the tax holiday. We are trying to entice Somalis overseas and outside and everywhere to congregate back here, and be able to invest in the country. Security is our number one priority here. If this country gets security and stability, you will see this country thrive and grow very, very fast and catch up with the international world. So we are counting on them, but we have to do our part, and that is make the country stable, make the country secure, and make sure that you have enough adequate laws to cover businesses and to encourage small businesses. That is really what we are working on. And at the end of the day, we have to be a viable country. And a viable country is the one that covers its cost, that covers its investment. A country that is independent is a country that can cover its own activities. And we are not independent to the extent that you always look outside for a bailout. And really that is what Somali society now is working on, and the government.
Yeah, and I know that one of the plans that you have, of course, as you say, is to try to make sure that security is improved. I wanted to know if you're getting any support that you require, for instance, from institutions like the African Development Bank, and also, of course, there's the talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and the difference that it will make to countries like Somalia.
Yes, of course. I cannot miss that opportunity to thank the institutions that are supporting us, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and the IMF. Islamic Development Bank. They are all coming to our rescue. EU is coming to our rescue, but we cannot be rescued all the time and every day and every minute. I think this has to be a short term. In the short term, we need their support, and they are supporting us. They are giving us whatever is necessary. But we are sure that we're trying to make sure that we do everything together, and we are responsive, and we are responsible, and we are accountable. And that every dollar is leading us to independence, not total dependence on the handouts. So the institutions and the international community really supported us. You know that we have AMISOM here with us helping our security. So we are very thankful for the African countries and the UN and everybody else that came to our aid here, to our rescue. At the end of the day, we have to do the heavy lifting ourselves. And that is the realization finally that this country is coming to grips with.